Welcome to Kelly's Quest, the transnational journey, 50 states and 50 stories. One of Maine's most popular slogans is, "The way life should be." To discover if this is true for transgender people, we spoke with Maasch, leader of the Youth Advising Program at the Trans Youth Equality Foundation and one of the first transgender youths in Maine to take puberty blockers. We met at Sabattis Disc Golf Course on a beautiful summer day to hear his story and discuss trans rights in vacation land, aka Maine. Fox, I appreciate you coming out here all the way from Bangor, Maine. This place is beautiful.
I appreciate it, and I am excited to see how this game works. I've never played in my life.
I hope you beat me at the game, I'll be honest.
I don't know about that.
I find a prodigy. Kind of aim to the side of it a little bit, and hopefully it'll curve right back into the basket.
That is just coincidence. We'll see once we get real far back.
If I miss this one,
you can do it. It's only because you said something.
So start teaching me how to play disc golf, Fox. I mean, you're going to teach me so much more today while we're out on the course talking.
Yeah, I started transitioning when I was 9.
Okay.
And I'd go every week. I'd go from Bangor to Boston to go to the Children's Hospital to see Dr. Norman Spack. Up until he pretty much retired. Hormone blockers, I started when I was 10. And
so you must have been one of the first in the nation that with hormone blockers.
Yeah,
stuff like that then.
it was a newer thing, and it was fortunately a science that was studied in children, the hormone blockers, for different purposes.
Okay.
For precocious puberty.
Okay.
Which I think a lot of people, especially parents of trans children, know what that means, because especially back then you would have to say that to the insurance companies, you'd have to say that your child had precocious puberty, and that's why they had to have the hormone blockers. And up until I was about 16, that was a thing. So it was definitely a newer thing back then, and it was not a lot of people had experience with kids. Nonetheless, adults in the community, also depending regionally and where you're living. I was in Bangor. No one was out like that.
And 3 hours to Boston.
4 hours.
4 hours to Boston.
Once a week. Well,
so let's finish out this hole, but you said a couple of things that I want to pick up on.
Well, they got a lot of land here.
Yeah.
This is only one course.
Yeah, of the 3, exactly.
Well, there's the river.
Dang, Fox, look at this river. I mean, Sabattis is a beautiful disc golf course.
Yeah, and the babbling brook. Oh, hit the tree. I am releasing too soon.
There you go.
That's more like it.
Another reason I love this game, Fox, all age groups, all skill levels, all everything.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, that's it.
Ooh, I heard water, I think.
I think I heard a splash.
Maybe we'll just go sit there and talk. You were talking about the camp, TYEF, and you were talking about your mother started it in 2005 or
2007 approximately. Yeah. The organization in general started because this was a very new thing for children to be transitioning medically, physiologically, and there were only a small handful of doctors out there. One was Dr. Spack, which I got to see, and there's not that many resources medically. Nonetheless, for school, for day-to-day life, for a family that has a transgender child. So her starting this organization was so other parents and families didn't have to struggle to find the resources that she had to struggle to find, and started to build up a repertoire of all kinds of resources, and gathered enough of those resources to be able to start a camp, which I believe started at around 2009. It was mostly about having the community be there, and have fun, just like a kid who was not trans would go to a sleepaway camp and just have fun with their friends. And every day there would be a schedule of classes or sit-down talking groups. We had people from different fields come in and lead. So we had some medical groups for the kids to learn about their medical rights and and all of the details they might have questions about.
I think that there's some people that they want it to be, they're still too young. You can't be talking about this stuff with a child. And it's like, well, this child, I know at 3 years old, I knew who I was. It was the rest of the world that did not believe me and did everything in their power to tell me that I was wrong.
It's wild. I also knew when I was 3, the first memories that I have are of thinking about that I wasn't in the right body, that I have 3 older sisters, and I knew I was not one of them.
I don't know what you are, but I'm not
yeah,
one of
I was not one of them. And so it does go to that young of an age, and some people, they want to deny it, but maybe it's just because they can't themselves remember what they thought when they were that age.
So you were talking also about your medical, can I talk about your medical transition?
Of course.
Okay, I'll let your voice explain puberty blockers, why they were so essential to you as a human being.
Well, being aware and conscious that there was something, what I thought was wrong with me, in kids' terms, that's really a lot of what they think. It's either right or wrong. And not that someone necessarily told me that I was wrong, but I felt wrong. And it was a very strong feeling of being uncomfortable, and it manifested in various ways through anxiety, like going to school and going out into public really at all. And so getting blockers was the first step in going towards what I wanted, which was to not be a woman, but to be a man. And my doctor explained it to me and my parents on our first visit, that was an option to have these blockers, that they weren't going to do permanent damage of any sort to my body, besides that over many, many years of using it, your internal reproductive organs deteriorate to some degree. But I was also aware that I was never going to want to have a baby.
Right.
And now I do know that there are some trans men and friends of mine, trans men friends of mine that have had babies from their own bodies, but it was not for me, and I was adamant to my parents that I wanted these suppressors because I knew that puberty was right around the corner. I had just started to develop. It was actually a little unfortunate because Dr. Spack, he said I should go on the blockers, and then he went on vacation for 6 months, and I started puberty in those 6 months.
Oh,
so it was like right, just barely in time.
Oh, man.
Fortunately, it wasn't that significant of a development, but it was distraught. I was distraught.
Still,
disturbed.
I mean, you knew that there was something that could stop this from happening.
Yeah, and I was so close to accessing it. And then he came back, and I got to go see him in person, and he explained to my parents that, it's not a choice to be this way, and my mother was very on board.
Okay.
My dad was nervous and not, he was slower to get on board, but I mean, it happened within that hour of talking to Dr. Spack.
Once the professional.
Yeah, the professional. Yeah. And yeah, so that was the start of it all. And I think I was on blockers for 4 or 5 years before starting the replacement therapies.
Right. I think that's important for people to know that you are not harmed by the puberty blockers.
Those drugs had been studied since the 80s.
Right.
For precocious puberty. So they had, in children, so they had that knowledge that it was safe for other uses of the same variety.
Okay, right.
So right. It was fortunate that Dr. Spack and those other doctors were well versed in the study of that particular kind of method, because it helped a lot of people.
So what I'm seeing in our community is, as we become more vocal and we become, here we are, there's people being like, ah, they're here, and they're trying to make us not be here.
Yeah.
But not understanding that we're being born every second.
Yeah. Since we're based in Maine, a lot of the Maine-based schools contact us, since we know we have people on our board that are well versed in school laws and or are teachers themselves. And so there was the schools, there's the individuals' families. Occasionally there will be a hospital, like a pediatrics unit. It is definitely primarily individual families that want to learn what they can do as an umbrella over all types of issues that might come across, like legal, medical, school. Those are what families want to know about.
Every person has their own unique coming out story. It sounds like you were persistent, insistent, and consistent with it.
That's the term.
And it also sounds like your mother and father understood that they better get on board.
Yeah.
When we come out to our parents, a lot of times the parents freak out and they think the best way to keep us safe is to keep it oppressed. And
I'm very lucky in that way, because even now it is still difficult for a very large amount of families.
there has to be kids reaching out to you all the time and parents all the time. So what is your role in specific with TYES?
I did a lot more before I went to college.
And where did you go to college at?
I went to Simmons University, in Boston.
Okay.
So I was more active before that, and then studying became the primary focus on my brain. I have chosen to after doing many years of this work as a child and a young adult, that I was going to take it a little slower for a while, because it is something that is obviously deeply personal. And sometimes every certain period of time it gets a little overwhelming too.
Yes, it does. Yes,
and I step back a little bit and go a little into the bushes and go and do littler things that are still helpful, but not in the limelight. Oftentimes what I come across is since a lot of people know I am trans, sometimes even though it's 5-6 years after I left high school, people still recognize me and they'll stop me on the street and want to know more about trans stuff. And I could just be like, I'm just literally sitting here eating lunch outside of this restaurant, and someone could come up to me and ask me a question about something that's totally deeply personal. And I always answer.
It's hard because you don't want to push. It's complicated, isn't it? Really and truly, what you want to do is turn to that person and ask them those personal questions. You have to be kind because you don't want to push them away.
Or turn them off to the whole subject.
Exactly, and then you've got
one mean person can turn, unkind comment can turn them into someone who thinks that's what they're all like. But oftentimes, it's just eat it situation, because it's such a it is a passing thing, someone passing by and asking a question, or you're in a setting where people are supposed to be asking the questions. And you just, as an advocate, for me, who has been also an educational standpoint, I answer all questions, any questions, no matter how awkward, uncomfortable, or even the questions that are inappropriate. I will, of course, I will say that is inappropriate. You should not ask anyone else. But I will answer the question for you, because if they don't get the answer from someone that they would maybe trust, that is in a position that is knowledgeable, me being trained with the organization and me being trained from other organizations, it's better for them to hear it and learn it from someone that is trustworthy, rather than go on the internet or go ask some Joe Schmo anywhere about these things and then get the wrong answer, or an answer that is disrespectful or or harmful to the community.
I'm going to be honest with you, Fox. I've heard a basket be hit by a disc, and I've heard the sound of chains rattling like 3 times now. And I'd like to play a little bit of disc golf for a second.
Let's do it.
Stretch.
Oh yeah. Whoa. Okay, I see it.
There you go. Now you're understanding it.
Practice. Takes a little getting used to. That's a straight shot though. Easy.
There you go.
It curves so much.
Yeah, you have to really work hard to make it not curve.
It's close. It's starting to get satisfying, just like the sound of the baseball going into the glove.
Yes.
I love that sound. Catcher's glove.
That is a great sound. I'm a huge baseball fan. I played it from the ages of 5 years old, and then I quit my senior year. Well, I played my senior year of high school, and then I stopped because I didn't want to go to the next level and have to pump iron, put testosterone in my body, and all of that stuff. Now, you're talking about playing baseball, and you're approaching it from a totally different angle than I am. Like, had you already affirmed your authentic self when you started playing baseball?
Well, I had, when I was young, much younger, more 7, 8, 9, I very much wanted to join the Little League team. But that was before I had really started to be out as in public. My parents were aware that there was something going on, and then later on that there was definitely something going on. But I very, very much wanted to be on the Little League, the boys' Little League team. They were not that open to it, to a girl being on the team. I remember I would go every year. They'd have the sign-ups in the elementary school gym, and all the coaches would be there, and I just remember the feeling of just desperately wanting to be on the team, but they were they didn't let me, so I wasn't able to play baseball on
the Little League.
The Little League. They wouldn't let me, and so I wasn't allowed to play on the team. But my little brother did, and we would play together. And he and I it was kind of a him and me sport, where him and me would, have our little brother time, and I loved it. And then when I went to middle school, I was allowed to be on the team. I was stealth at the time. So the only people who knew I was trans was the coach, because he was one of my teachers, and the teachers knew.
Right.
Just for safety's sake, I guess. The school wanted the teachers to know, just in case something were to come out and they would be unaware and not know what to do to support. So my primary teachers knew, and one of them was the baseball coach. So it was great being able to play on a real team. It was it was awesome, and I got to play a position instead of just playing catch and hitting the ball into a fence.
You were part of the unit.
Yeah, and it felt awesome. Felt great.
When you affirmed your authentic self, were there laws to protect you in place, or did those come after you had affirmed yourself?
That came after. I was, it was around 3rd grade, 4th grade that I was going to be entering school as who I really was. And prior to that, actually, from 1st grade all the way up to 6th grade, I was primarily homeschooled for, initially it was for anxiety reasons. I couldn't leave the house, really. It was a very severe case of parental separation anxiety. My doctor said it was the worst case they'd ever seen.
And look at you now.
And look at me now.
You're out here playing disc golf.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And so I was not often in school in general, physically. But then when I got a little older and was going into 4th and 5th grade, I decided that I wanted to try to go back to school again, but I wasn't going to go back as who I was. I would be going as what I felt comfortable as. And there was some issues with that amongst the community, the whole 9 yards, the board, school board, the school itself, teachers, students' parents. And it ended up being a pretty harsh discrimination court case that lasted many years. The reasoning was that they were unwilling to call me by my chosen name and use my chosen pronouns.
Wow.
So it happened, and it was not. That was not something that they had any experience with, really. If they had the experience with it, it was probably something on the down low that the parents never really told the school about.
Right.
That's the only thing I can think of, because I would find it hard to believe that anyone would be willing to be treated like that. I mean, especially an adult treating a child like that. So it ended up being in the courts. We decided to have it not be broadcast and publicized for privacy reasons.
Okay.
And that ended. It ended a few years later, and we prevailed.
Good,
we won,
good.
and that pretty much set some of the standards for how schools and the school board and the superintendent were allowed to treat trans children.
Holy cow, Fox.
And
Holy cow.
it was a great feat.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I'm sorry
I remember
you had to do it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it was at a time where even I remember my mom always told me the story that my sister's high school principal, he was having problems with accepting that there were even gay people in his school, and he said to her that there is not one gay person in my school. And my mom freaked out, and she said, "I'm writing my number on this piece of paper, and by the time I leave this office, you better call me with an apology." He crumpled the paper up and threw it in the garbage. And then she got to her car, and he called her when she got to the car. She got a call from him and said he was sorry.
Wow.
And that was the time when even
you have a true definition of a mama bear.
Yes, absolutely. After that court case, all students up through high school had to be taught in school about what transgender meant.
Wow.
And I don't know if they really lived up to it. I would hope they did, because it's what the judge said. I hope that it's continued to this day. I truly don't know, but then after that, the Nicole Maines case came out, and that was publicized.
So she's Maine also, right?
She was in Orono,
Okay.
and I was in Bangor. Her case happened right after mine, pretty much right in succession.
So you've got protections in public education. So
Yep. So now
yeah,
yeah.
protection. What about the dreaded birth certificate, the dreaded driver's license, all of that stuff? How's that looking in Maine?
As of now, you can do anything that will help to affirm who you really are. You can get your driver's license to reflect your gender identity.
Okay.
And that was one of the first steps that the state made, was the driver's license. And then it wasn't terribly long ago that they allowed the birth certificates.
Okay.
You could, of course, change your birth certificate and change your name, which I did. But when I did that, that was 2008 or so.
Okay.
At that time, you were not allowed to change your gender on the birth certificate, but that recently did change, and so now you can.
Come on, Tennessee, get with it. Change the law in the state, Tennessee.
Really?
Tennessee still will not change a birth certificate.
Even the name?
They'll change the name.
Well, yeah, I guess they have to
but
change the name,
but
because
not the
anyone
marker.
can do
They
that.
will not do it.
Yeah, but Other than that, what else is there? The schools have to comply with what is chosen by the family and by the medical providers if it needs to go that far. Sometimes the school is a little apprehensive, and having the support of the medical provider talk with the whoever deciding group is definitely helps. But in this state, they can lose their funding if they don't comply.
Wow.
Completely lose their funding, and there have been schools that have been threatened that.
I mean, it's just be nice to students. I mean,
I know.
I don't know how hard that really and truly is. I can't even imagine what the next 10 years are going to be for you. I mean, let's see, court cases, laws being changed, TYEF, public speaking, you're an artist also. Where do you see yourselves in 10 years?
I think that there will be some form of advocacy. I'm not sure in what form. Definitely, it won't be on the internet. I mean, if it were to be on the internet, someone else can handle that part. I'll do the logistics, I guess. But I do definitely see some advocacy in my future in the next 10 years. But mostly, I will just be doing my thing and finishing my education, continuing my education, and building a career.
Well, Fox, I want to thank you so much for being here.
I really thank you for inviting me to this. This is a great program, great opportunity to get the main voice out there. I'll do it next to Steven.
You can do it on the bottom of it. You can be the first person right on the bottom of this.
Yeah, I'll do it on the back.
Okay.
First one.
Looky there, folks. Maine.
Maine. The way life should be. That's our motto, one of our mottos. Then our other one is vacation land.
I want to thank everyone who made a donation. Your generosity is what makes the transnational journey possible. To help grow the show, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Whoa. Oh, not far.
I mean, you're already getting better.
All right. Whoa. Hey. I thought that was going to go way off.
It was going to go over yonder way.
Yeah.